Hey guys, David here, TexasHornsFans.com. I wanted to bring back a clip from a question that I asked Tom Herman at last year's Big 12 Media Days, the 2019 Media Days, about just the importance of a program's ability to develop NFL draft picks and how important that is to recruits these days. So I thought that was pretty relevant with the NFL draft coming up and looking to see where Colin Johnson and Devin Duvernay might go, Brandon Jones. So take a look at the clip and then we'll talk about it. But don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and definitely comment below to let me know your thoughts on how important it is just for a program to develop NFL talent or to send picks to the draft. And we'll look at how Texas has done over the past few years. Coach, in the offseason, there's always a lot of talk about programs and their ability to send guys to the NFL, how many draft picks they have. How important is that for recruits, like right now? Is it increasing, and how often does that come up in the recruiting process?
It comes up a lot. We're very proud of our guys that got drafted this year and those that signed as priority free agents. But there's no debate that Texas, we've got to do more. And that there's a lot of factors that factor into that. One is recruiting, and recruiting talent, but the right talent too, that's going to work and want to be developed. Two, that's development by us. And three, that's the 1-2 drive and desire of the young man. And, whenever it does come up, I mean, my standard answer to any student athlete or any parent is, listen, let's not blame our staff for the last decade of Texas football before we got there. That's not fair. We take a lot of pride in what we've done in a very short period of time when it comes to development. We're the conference defensive player of the year at linebacker with 1 year under Todd Orlando. After, I believe, his sophomore year, he wasn't even a full-time starter, and Charles Amenahue worked his tail off in our program and went from a role player to a starter as a junior to the defensive lineman of the year in our conference. And so the development's there. We've got to recruit and continue to recruit the right kind of guys that have the measurables, the tangibles to be high round draft picks. And I think we're doing a pretty good job of that thus far.
So that was his comments about, it's definitely something that comes up a lot with recruits who are, whose ultimate goal is to make it to the NFL. That's what their dream is, and no knock on them. Now, I'm absolutely in the camp that a player's college status or the impact that they made in college doesn't change or isn't affected by the success or lack of success that they have in the NFL. Now, their overall kind of legacy, I think, is enhanced if they do go have a great NFL career. But I just don't think that what happens in the NFL affects their impact or legacy that they had in college. But looking at the past 5 to 10 years of NFL draft picks, NFL talent that Texas has developed or kind of sent to the NFL, it's definitely not on par with a lot of the other major programs in the country, even though that, sure, there are several Pro Bowl representatives from the Texas Longhorns. But just looking back, first of all, I went and looked at all the NFL draft picks from the past decade. So that would include 2010 through the 2019 NFL draft. And there's been 29 Texas Longhorns drafted over that time. So just about 3 per year. So definitely not where you'd want it to be. Typically, most kind of big time programs are sending roughly 5 to 8 NFL draft picks per year on average. And in the decade before, so taking 2000 to 2009, Texas had 39 NFL picks. Now, yeah, sometimes you have, free agents sign like Malcolm Brown, the running back, who's the backup with the Rams, backing up Todd Gurley with the Rams. He was signed and still in the NFL. But, definitely a difference there. And then even in the last 4 years, so 2016, 17, 18, and 19, there have been 8 total NFL draft picks from Texas. So that drops down to 2, an average of 2 over the last 4 years, down from an overall average from the last 10 years at 2.9 per year on average. But just recently, just in the last 4 years, 8. Projected for 2020, I think definitely 2 picks, probably 3. I would be surprised if there were 4. Brandon Jones, I think, is going to go first. Colin Johnson, Devin Duvernay, I believe both will get drafted, but it is an incredibly deep wide receiver draft. Some say maybe the best wide receiver draft of all time. So there's a lot of competition. There's a lot of depth there, but NFL teams will kind of draft receivers kind of a dime a dozen. So, but anyway, those are Tom Herman's kind of comments. Looking at some highlight draft picks from the past decade or so from Texas. Defensive backs, Aaron Williams, Curtis Brown, Sam Acho, who I believe is still hanging around there in the NFL. I believe is on his 3rd team. Emmanuel Acho, his younger brother, who doesn't play anymore. Kenny Vaccaro, who's one of the overall best safeties in the NFL. Marquise Goodwin, who has made impacts but battled injuries. Alex Okafor, an outside linebacker / defensive end. Malcolm Brown, the defensive tackle. Jordan Hicks, Pro Bowl linebacker. Quandre Diggs, a starter at cornerback, defensive back. Hassan Ridgeway, and then most recently, Michael Dixon, the punter, Pro Bowl punter, and then Charles Omenihu, Chris Boyd, and Deshaun Elliott, drafted most recently. But definitely a drop-off in the last 4 years. But also, Tom Herman has had 3 years at Texas, so he really hasn't had a full class that he and his group were responsible for recruiting and then developing and then, kind of sending to the NFL. He did in that quote mention Charles Omenihu, how he kind of came on as a backup and then developed into the Big 12 Defensive Lineman of the Year. Omenihu was a 5th round draft pick. He was number 161 overall, but did develop into a draft pick at least. And, overall, like I said, I think that Texas still has had impact players over the past decade or so. I mean, you even remember guys like Jackson Jeffcoat, a Big 12 Player of the Year. Malcolm Brown. And even think about like Poona Ford, not drafted, but an impact player for the Seahawks at nose tackle. So looking at those type of guys too is worth it. But anyway, drop a comment on how important you think it is for a program to develop NFL talent. Obviously, it's an important issue for recruits and where they decide to spend their next 3 to 4 years. Just kind of in considering their ultimate goal, a lot of them to make it to the NFL. So drop your comment below. Let me know what you think. Check us out at TexasHornsFans.com. A lot of great content on there, and also on Facebook at Texas Horns Football. 56,000 Longhorns fans on there, so we have a lot of fun on there too. So let me know what you think. Don't forget to subscribe, give it a like, and share it out. We'll see you next time. Welcome.